to Module 5, Promoting Optimal Social Emotional Development of Infants and Toddlers in Early Childhood Settings. This module takes a developmental approach to fostering the optimal social emotional development of infants and toddlers in child care. The module is divided to allow completion in 2 separate online sessions. The first session provides an overview of social emotional health, attachment and connection, and temperament. The second session provides approaches to promote optimal social emotional development for infants and toddlers during specific ages and stages. The session should be completed in sequential order for an optimal learning experience. You are presently in Session 1, which will be about 1/2 hour in length. You will need to complete Session 2 at a later date to complete the entire module. The content of this module is based on the 3rd edition of Caring for Our Children, which is the definitive source on best practice in health and safety in early care and education settings. Links to the standards used in the development of the content in this training session are available on the Social Emotional Development module page of Building a Healthy Start website at www.adph.org/healthystart. All of the Caring for Our Children standards are available online at www.nrckids.org. It is important to understand the difference between standards, guidelines, and regulations when discussing best practice in child care. This knowledge will help you better incorporate the information that you receive today into your daily practice. A standard is a statement that defines a goal of practice. It is usually based on scientific evidence. It is stronger than a recommendation or a guideline, but differs from a regulation because compliance is not necessarily required for legal operation. Examples of national standards include Caring for Our Children and the ASTM International Standards for Product Safety, such as their crib safety standards. A guideline is a statement of advice or instruction. A guideline is issued from an organization with acknowledged professional standing and usually comes from a perceived need for such guidance. One example of guidelines is the Choose My Plate campaign from the United States Department of Agriculture, also known as the USDA. A regulation, however, is a standard or guideline that becomes a requirement for legal operation. A regulation comes from an agency with governmental or official authority and is accompanied by enforcement activity. Examples of regulations include the Alabama Department of Human Resources licensing standards and the Health Department's food safety regulations. Because creating regulations is a lengthy legal process, regulations, although they still must be followed, may become outdated and no longer represent best practice. Please remember that the content of this module is based on the best practice standards published in Caring for Our Children. These standards may or may not have been adopted as regulations in Alabama. Caregivers should be familiar with state and local child care regulations and operate in compliance with such regulations. Let's begin with an overview of social emotional development as it relates to infants and toddlers. Social emotional health is the developing capacity of infants and toddlers to form close and secure relationships, to experience, regulate, and express their emotions in socially and culturally appropriate ways, and to explore the environment and learn within the context of family, community, and culture. Development of social emotional health begins the moment a child is born. Newborn infants enter the world ready to attach and respond to their families and other caregivers. As children grow, their responses to people, relationships, and day-to-day interactions progress according to their ages. Infants and toddlers begin to develop the capacity to form relationships, express emotions, self-regulate, and explore. A consistent, nurturing, and supportive environment, both at home and in child care settings, is the foundation for healthy social emotional development. Children's developing ability to establish relationships with others influences how they view themselves and the world. With the help of supportive adults, children learn to recognize and express their own feelings, to understand and respond to the emotions of others, and to develop characteristics including curiosity, optimism, self-confidence, self-control, problem-solving and coping ability, and the capacity to form and maintain meaningful relationships. Sensitive and responsive caregivers help young children develop the ability to form warm, trusting relationships with other children and with adults. Children also begin to develop positive self-esteem and belief in themselves and their abilities. With responsive caregiving, children begin to display developmentally appropriate control of impulses and behavior, and have increasing ability to communicate feelings, needs, and ideas with words. They progressively develop and show empathy and compassion for others, and exhibit age and developmentally appropriate abilities to learn, including skills to concentrate, focus, and plan. Please take a minute to pause this video and think of some words that describe your own social-emotional skills and strengths, as well as the social-emotional skills you want to see and help support in the young children in your care. The Healthy Social-Emotional Development Vocabulary List handout may give you some additional words to consider. The first years of life are a crucial time for development of brain circuits. The brain has the greatest capacity for change during this time, which means it is a period of both opportunity and vulnerability. The impact of experiences on brain development is greatest during the infant/toddler years. Early experiences, including experiences in child care, affect development of brain architecture. Brains are built over time. It is an ongoing process that begins before birth and continues into adulthood. Experiences that promote social-emotional development activate growth of neural connections in that area of the brain. These circuits are built into the brain architecture. This process helps form the foundation for all future learning, behavior, and health. When caregivers are sensitive and responsive to a child's signals and needs, they provide an environment that is rich in serve and return experiences. For example, when an infant or a toddler cries, babbles, or gestures for attention, he is serving. The adult who responds appropriately and consistently with eye contact, words, or positive touch is returning the attention. As serve and return experiences occur, neural connections are built. These connections strengthen the child's brain specific to social-emotional development. Likewise, the caregiver may initiate the serve and return experience. For example, you may show a bright toy to an infant or invite a toddler to engage in play. The child responds by showing interest in the object or exploring the play opportunity. These daily, consistent serve and return interactions shape brain architecture and support development of communication and social skills. Remember that your sensitive and responsive interactions with children in your care are essential for their development of trust, empathy, sharing, and conscience. Positive interactions throughout each day support children's curiosity, self-direction, persistence, cooperation, and conflict resolution skills. Let's continue our discussion about social-emotional development by exploring attachment and connection between children and caregivers. Attachment and connection refers to a two-way relationship between the caregiver and the child. Attachment is an enduring emotional relationship to a specific person. In a secure and nurturing environment, infants attach to their parent. Upon entering the child care environment, infants may also attach to their primary caregiver. Connection builds as caregivers get to know and understand the children in their care, and in return, infants and toddlers learn to know and understand their caregivers. Caregivers who are consistently available and responsive to a child's needs help create an environment that fosters secure attachment. Consistent and stable relationships with a supportive caregiver provide a foundation that can endure over time. This special bond creates expectations and memories for young children and lays the foundation for healthy relationships with others. Building secure relationships, such as the bond between child and caregiver, also help children develop resilience. Resilience is the ability to overcome adversity. For infants and toddlers, resilience helps them keep trying when faced with challenges, such as reaching for a desired toy, learning to walk, and developing other skills. Specific strategies in child care can promote healthy relationships. A primary strategy is to maintain the same caregivers for as long as possible. Ideally, children will have the same caregivers from infancy through toddlerhood. As children go from infant care to toddler care, the nursery environment, such as furnishings, will change to meet the age and development needs of children. Having the familiar caregiver in this new environment promotes social and emotional development. If it is necessary to change caregivers when changing environments, introduce the child to the new caregiver and the new space over a period of time. If possible, allow the child to occasionally visit with previous caregivers. Another strategy is to maintain consistent and comfortable arrival and departure routines. Always greet children warmly upon arrival. Encourage parents to say goodbye before leaving and allow transitional objects such as a favorite blanket or toy. Use natural opportunities to be physically close and comforting, such as holding, rocking, and sitting near children. Spend time on the floor with infants and toddlers. Arrange the environment to be comfortable for both children and adults. Use routines such as diapering and feeding as one-on-one time to interact with each child. Open and effective communication is essential to secure relationships. Consistently use a warm, calming voice and meaningful language not only when talking with children, but also when communicating with other adults. Use children's names when talking with them. Early communication includes responding to their vocalizations and having conversations. Talk with children rather than at them. As infants coo and babble, respond with your own soothing sounds and use their names and simple words. As toddlers begin to use simple words, your responses and conversations help build language while promoting social emotional development. Each child will have his or her own sounds with unique meanings. One infant may coo and another may grunt to get attention. Toddlers learning to talk may use interesting sounds and words to communicate. Attempt to understand each child's behavior and communication. As you develop relationships with individual children, you will learn their cues and communication. Responsive care occurs as you connect with children. It means matching your caregiving to what each child needs. First, listen and watch for cues before responding. Try to determine what the infant or toddler needs. Crying could indicate that the child is hungry, wet, hurt, or lonely. Grunting could indicate a need for attention or an oncoming diaper change. Respond to meet children's needs as quickly as possible. Young children also communicate through actions. Recognizing the individual cues enables you to respond quickly and appropriately. Take time to think about what a child's behavior means and find the best way to support him or her. For example, a 10-month-old child may start kicking, babbling, and grabbing at mealtime. What does this behavior tell you? It could mean that he really wants to hold his own spoon and feed himself. He probably has the ability to self-feed finger foods. However, at this age, he does not have the physical development skills to feed himself with a spoon. You can support his desire for independence and promote both physical and social emotional development by giving him the baby spoon to hold in his hands while you continue feeding him with another spoon. Infants and toddlers communicate in many ways. Think about the children in your care. What cues do they give you to show they are engaged? Are there specific cues to show they are not engaged or interested? Being aware of and recognizing individual cues enable caregivers to engage in serve and return interactions. Serve and return interactions can occur throughout the day. For example, When a young infant coos and babbles, he is communicating or serving. When you smile and coo back to the child, you return the communication. This back and forth interaction is important to brain development and healthy relationships. Another serve and return interaction can occur when an infant points, reaches for, or crawls toward a person or object. By moving yourself or the object closer to the infant, you are engaging in reciprocal action, that is, serve and return. Toddlers begin to use simple words. They may walk toward, point to, and reach for what they want. Try to understand their words and cues and respond with appropriate words and actions. Be sensitive to each child's cues. This serve and return activity helps toddlers develop communication skills. Infants and toddlers communicate their needs as well as their desires. The communication may be through behavior, words, or crying. For example, if an infant is not interested or uncomfortable with a situation or person, he may avoid eye contact or pull away from a caregiver. Infants generally cry to express their immediate need. Crying may mean they are hungry, wet, hurt, ill, or lonely. Quickly and consistently, try to identify the infant's need and respond to it. Crying will usually stop once the infant's need is met. However, if a child continues to cry and cannot be consoled, call the parent. There may be a health issue. Do not let an infant cry continually. Toddlers often express need in definite ways. They may avoid contact or say no, sometimes very loudly. They may also cry or throw tantrums when hurt, ill, angry, or frustrated. Try to understand the child's need and respond calmly and appropriately. Infants and toddlers react to the emotions and actions they see and sense in adults. When you appear calm, quiet, and soothing, children will more likely be calm and happy. Happiness is contagious. Caregivers that are loud and agitated may have a room full of crying or unhappy children. Be calm and composed before being with children. If you have had a stressful event before arriving at work, take a few minutes to calm yourself and resolve your own emotions. Bring in your happy face. Happiness is beneficial for both you and your children. Temperament is also important to understanding young children and promoting their social emotional health. Temperament is a term to describe how an infant or toddler generally responds to other people and to the environment. This term refers to how the child adjusts to the environment and new experiences, how he responds to stress, and his flexibility in adjusting routines. There are three broad categories of temperament often used to describe infants: easy, slow to warm up, and difficult. However, a child does not fit neatly into a single category. Most infants and toddlers display characteristics from more than one category of temperament. Children's needs, wants, and behaviors can differ greatly, even in a given day or week. Every child is different, and by understanding each child, you can provide the nurturing environment and actions that best meet individual needs. Remember, the common factor in child caregiving: all infants and toddlers need consistency and nurturing. A child's temperament can influence a range of behaviors and responses to the environment. For example, as you observe the children in your care, you will notice that some children seem to be constantly active, bouncing from one action to another. Another child may generally be more still, often taking time to quietly explore a book or toy. Other children have a mixture of activity levels throughout the day. Likewise, individual children respond differently to new situations. Some children approach every situation calmly and with interest, while other children appear withdrawn and hesitant to engage with new people or in an unfamiliar environment. As you get to know individual children, you will recognize and begin to anticipate the response that each child will have to events and situations throughout the day. Children have a tendency to react with either a positive or negative mood, seriousness or fussiness. The intensity of their reactions also varies. Some children react loudly and with strength. Children also respond or react to sensory information such as sounds, brightness of light, the feel of clothing or blankets, and even new taste. Every child has a different learning approach, which is also related to temperament. Notice each child's adaptability. That is how easily they handle transitions and change. Distractibility refers to how easily a child's attention is pulled from an activity. Persistence refers to how long a child continues with a new or challenging activity. Take a moment to pause the video and think about the infants and toddlers in your care. What is each child like? Are they calm or active? How do they respond to changes in routines? How do they let you know what they like or dislike? Who is adaptable? Who is persistent? Think about how these observations can help you be a more responsive caregiver. Most infants and toddlers have easy temperaments and easily fit into routines and adapt to changes. These children usually react mildly when experiencing hunger or discomfort and calm quickly when their needs are met. When children with easy temperaments are fussy, they usually can find ways to soothe or calm themselves, such as sucking their thumbs or hugging a favorite toy. However, don't forget that all children need lots of attention, affection, and physical touch. The child with an easy temperament is undemanding, but still needs consistent and nurturing attention throughout each day. Infants and toddlers who have slow to warm up temperaments may seem shy. They approach life more cautiously and may carefully watch what is going on around them. When presented with a new situation or with an unfamiliar person, these children may first withdraw. Caregivers of slow to warm up children must be very patient. Introduce these children to new situations often, but do so calmly and slowly. Slow to warm up children will gradually adapt to new situations, but they must be given as much time as they need with no pressure. Slow to warm up children also respond slowly and quietly to hunger and other discomforts. These children may not cry or fuss much, even if hungry or uncomfortable. Be aware of subtle cues that may indicate a need. Be aware that a child with this temperament may not quickly respond to you with giggles, smiles, or coos. They may take a little longer to interact, but interaction with caregivers is essential to optimal social emotional development. Infants and toddlers with difficult or spirited temperaments engage in almost constant physical activity and are easily distracted from the task at hand. They are sensitive to their environment and are aware of crowded spaces, sounds, smells, and lights. They are also sensitive to the emotions of their caregivers. Their responses to situations may be intense, such as loud and intense crying when hungry or wet. Children with difficult temperaments need consistency in their routines and environments. They have a harder time adapting to change, including changes in caregivers. Try to avoid exposing them to events and situations that are upsetting. They may exhibit stress during feeding and mealtime and may demand a security blanket or favorite toy before going to sleep. Fortunately, with consistency and nurturing, many characteristics of difficult temperaments disappear or diminish as children enter toddlerhood. Remember that every child is unique. Many children do not fit into a single category of temperament. Understanding and connecting with each child helps you to be a more responsive and effective caregiver. Give children the message that they are wonderful, special, and accepted exactly the way they are. Focus on the positive attributes of each child's temperament traits and avoid labeling children. For example, consider that a child is cautious rather than shy, persistent rather than stubborn, and energetic rather than overactive or hyper. Consider ways to adapt the child care environment to best fit each child's temperament. For example, lowering the lights and noise level may calm children. Always speak with a calm, quiet voice. Maintain a consistent daily schedule so children learn what to expect and feel more secure. In conclusion, let's remember that promoting optimal social emotional health is the responsibility of every caregiver. Social emotional health is the developing capacity of infants and toddlers to form close and secure relationships, to experience, regulate, and express their emotions in socially and culturally appropriate ways, and to explore the environment and learn within the context of family, community, and culture. Every child is unique. Understand and connect with each child to promote optimal social emotional development. This concludes Session 1 of Promoting Optimal Social Emotional Development of Infants and Toddlers in Early Childhood Settings. In order to finish Module 5, be sure to complete Session 2, which addresses how caregivers can promote optimal social emotional development for infants and toddlers of specific ages and stages. Thank you for your participation in this training session. The training module team may follow up with you in 2 months to see how you have used this information. A short post-training survey may be sent to you at the email address you provided during registration.